1. The essence of strategy is choosing what not to do. This quote reminds us that effective strategy is as much about making clear decisions on what to forego as it is about deciding what to pursue, focusing resources where they matter most. 2. Strategy is about setting yourself apart from the competition. It's not a matter of being better at what you do, it's a matter of being different at what you do. Here's what that really means. True strategic advantage comes from creating a unique offering or approach, rather than simply trying to outperform rivals at the same game. Differentiation is key. 3. Competitive strategy is about being different. It means deliberately choosing a different set of activities to deliver a unique mix of value. This quote reminds us that to gain a competitive edge, you must intentionally adopt distinct practices and offerings that create a unique value proposition for your customers, rather than imitating others. 4. If a strategy meets a goal, it's working. If a strategy meets a target, it's a success. Here's what that really means. A strategy demonstrates effectiveness if it helps achieve its intended objective, but it's a true success only if it hits specific, measurable targets. 5. Strategy is about making choices, trade-offs. It's about deliberately choosing to be different. This quote reminds us that effective strategy involves making deliberate decisions to prioritize certain actions and sacrifices, fundamentally choosing a unique path to differentiate yourself. 6. If all you're trying to do is essentially the same thing as your rivals, then it's unlikely that you'll be very successful. Here's what that really means. Mimicking your competitors rarely leads to significant achievement, as true success comes from offering something distinct and valuable in the market. 7. The purpose of the corporation must be redefined as creating shared value, not just profit per se. This will drive the next wave of innovation and productivity growth in the global economy. This quote reminds us that businesses should aim to generate economic value in ways that also address societal needs and challenges, arguing that this shared value approach will be the next major driver of global economic progress. 8. You can't be all things to all people. Here's what that really means. It's impossible and ultimately ineffective to try and satisfy every demand or appeal to every audience. Focus and specialization are necessary for success. 9. Businesses must reconnect company success with social progress. Shared value is not social responsibility, philanthropy, or even sustainability, but a new way to achieve economic success. It is not on the margin of what companies do, but at the center. We believe that it can give rise to the next major transformation of business thinking. This quote reminds us that companies should integrate societal benefit into their core business strategy, asserting that this shared value approach is a fundamental shift that drives economic success and significant business transformation, rather than being a peripheral activity. 10. A strategy delineates a territory in which a company seeks to be unique. Here's what that really means. A well-defined strategy identifies and commits a company to a specific area or approach where it aims to establish a distinct and unparalleled competitive advantage. 11. Sound strategy starts with having the right goal. This quote reminds us that the effectiveness of any strategic plan hinges on first establishing a clear, appropriate, and well-defined objective. A good goal is the starting point. 12. Operational effectiveness and strategy are both essential to superior performance. Here's what that really means. Achieving peak performance requires both doing things efficiently and doing the right things differently. One without the other is insufficient for sustained excellence. 13. Strategic thinking rarely occurs spontaneously. This quote reminds us that developing effective long-term plans typically requires deliberate effort, focused attention, and a structured process, rather than arising by chance. 14. The best CEOs I know are teachers, and at the core of what they teach is strategy. Here's what that really means. Highly effective CEOs are skilled educators who primarily instruct their organizations on the fundamental principles and execution of strategic thinking. 15. Strategy is choice. Strategy means saying no to certain kinds of things. This quote reminds us that strategy is defined by the deliberate decisions made to select certain paths and, importantly, to actively decline other options. It's about clear prioritization. 16. Change brings opportunities. On the other hand, change can be confusing. Here's what that really means. While periods of change can open new doors and possibilities, they also inherently create uncertainty and can lead to disorientation. 17. Innovation is the central issue in economic prosperity. This quote reminds us that the ability to create new ideas, methods, or products is the primary driver of economic growth and overall societal wealth. 18. The essence of strategy is that you must set limits on what you're trying to accomplish. Here's what that really means. Effective strategy requires defining clear boundaries and focusing your efforts by consciously deciding what you will and will not attempt to achieve. 19. The company without a strategy is willing to try anything. This quote reminds us that an organization lacking a clear long-term plan will typically react impulsively to various opportunities, leading to fragmented efforts and a lack of focus. 20. Without a goal, analytics is aimless and worthless. Here's what that really means. Collecting and analyzing data only becomes meaningful and valuable when it is guided by a specific objective or question. Without a goal, data analysis lacks purpose. 21. Good leaders need a positive agenda, not just an agenda of dealing with crisis. This quote reminds us that effective leaders should proactively pursue constructive goals and visions, rather than merely reacting to and managing emergencies. 22. Risk is a function of how poorly a strategy will perform if the wrong scenario occurs. Here's what that really means. The level of risk in a strategy is determined by how severely it would fail or underperform if unforeseen or unfavorable circumstances were to materialize. 23. A target should go with every goal. A target is the value that defines success. This quote reminds us that every broad objective needs a specific, measurable target to precisely define what constitutes achievement and success. 24. The ability to change constantly and effectively is made easier by high-level continuity. Here's what that really means. While adaptability is crucial, consistently strong performance during continuous change is facilitated by maintaining stable core principles, vision, or leadership. 25. Competitiveness is defined as the ability of companies to compete while maintaining or improving the average standard of living. If you are cutting wages to become more competitive, that's not really more competitive. It's raising the skill and the efficiency of those workers so that they can support and sustain that higher wage. This quote reminds us that true competitiveness is achieved by increasing productivity and skill to support higher living standards, not by simply reducing costs like wages. Sustainable competition benefits society. 26. If your goal is anything but profitability, if it's to be big, or to grow fast, or to become a technology leader, you'll hit problems. Here's what that really means. Focusing solely on metrics other than profitability, such as size or speed of growth, will inevitably lead to operational difficulties and financial challenges. Profitability is the ultimate measure of business health. 27. There's a fundamental distinction between strategy and operational effectiveness. This quote reminds us that there are two distinct aspects to organizational performance: devising a unique plan and executing tasks efficiently. Both are important but different. 28. The underlying principles of strategy are enduring regardless of technology or the pace of change. Here's what that really means. Despite rapid advancements and shifts, the fundamental concepts and truths of strategic planning remain constant over time. 29. The chief strategist of an organization has to be the leader, the CEO. This quote reminds us that the ultimate responsibility for defining and guiding an organization's long-term direction must rest with its top executive. Strategic leadership is critical. 30. Ultimately, healthcare fails the most basic test. It's not organized around the needs of the patient. Here's what that really means. The healthcare system fundamentally falls short because its structure prioritizes processes or providers rather than being centered on the actual needs and well-being of the patient. 31. Efforts to preserve all industries will lower the national standard of living. This quote reminds us that artificially protecting every existing industry, regardless of its efficiency or relevance, can hinder overall economic progress and reduce a nation's prosperity. It advocates for natural economic evolution. Thank you for spending this moment with the Mind Shelf. Let this quote stay with you, and may your day be filled with peace and purpose. If it stirred something in you, don't let it fade. Reflect, share, and let's grow together, one thought at a time. What does this quote mean to you? Share your thoughts below. Your words might inspire someone else today. If you'd like more gentle wisdom and soulful reflections, don't forget to subscribe and join our growing mindful community. And if you're watching this as you wind down, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and carry this wisdom into your dreams. Until next time, rest well.